Alright guys, welcome to our final shaping and our final step of day 2. Okay, so for this step you'll need your banneton. You'll be using all-purpose flour, or you could use rice flour to dust the inside of the banneton. And I feel like the best way to do this is to just grab a little handful of flour and then gently rub the flour around the inside of the banneton. Okay, I had a little too much flour, so I'm going to sprinkle that on top of my dough, and I'm going to go ahead and dust my second banneton. For this step, we will be dusting our bench-rested dough with flour, unlike in the first step where we help to prevent sticking by using water. In order to loosen my dough here, what I'm going to do is gently just kind of pick up some of that flour with the edge of my bench scraper, and I'm going to try to get all the way around the underside of this dough until I feel like it's released from the counter. Okay, now I'm going to quickly but gently flip the dough over, and I'm going to begin this sort of lacing up process. I'm going to fold each side in toward the middle, pull up on the top, and then begin my zigzag shoestring crossing process here. Now I'm going to roll the dough gently up toward the top, and I'm going to begin that spinning and tucking motion that is very similar to what we did in our pre-shape video. Now, sometimes the dough can get a little sticky in this process, so I like to dust my hands with flour a little bit. We are working with a very high hydration dough throughout this entire process. If you've tried this recipe a few times and you've noticed that the dough is very wet and really hard to work with, I would suggest reducing the water in your autolyse process by 25 grams to start. Okay, now I'm going to grab my banneton and I'm going to gently pick up my dough and flip it upside down into the banneton so that the floured top side is down. That is going to be our crust side when we bake tomorrow. This last little sealing process is to make sure that all that tucking that we did is going to stay. You're just going to pull 4 corners up and into the middle and cross them over each other. Alright, I'm going to repeat this whole process for you. As you can see, as I'm folding over the dough onto itself, I'm kind of giving it a little stretch for each segment. You can see that there are some pieces of the dough protruding out from itself. I'm working to tuck that all underneath so that the only thing I can see from the top of the dough is that nicely formed skin that we've been working on. Once I feel like I've gotten it pretty well tucked, that's when I'm going to go ahead and invert it into my banneton. Sometimes we can get carried away with the flour in this process and end up using too much flour, and the dough doesn't really want to kind of form and stick to itself. So just watch out for that as you experiment. You can rest this dough in the refrigerator for anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. I tend to let mine rest for somewhere around 15 hours, and I feel like that's a good amount of time to develop the flavor that I desire. And that concludes day 2 of the Sourdough 101 course.